Morning, market chameleons, and my favorite chameleon, Dimitri Pargamonic. How you doing, Dima?
Good morning, Will. How are you?
Great. You want to go right to the disclaimer? What do you think?
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Before we get started, keep in mind, Will and I, Market Chameleon, we're not registered investment advisors. We're not broker dealers. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need professional help, call your broker. That's what they're there for, to help answer your questions and provide you with guidance. There's the disclaimer.
All right.
Share my screen.
Hey, I don't know if you've looked at Benzinga this morning, but we're number 3 in the voting, which is nice.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you to everybody out there. The voting for us feels good. We kind of entered in pretty late, or later than, not pretty late, but later into the game. So it's be number 3 right now. Feels pretty good.
Yeah, it does. And I will put that link out momentarily on the chat. You can vote. Thanks to Jean, one of our most active chameleons. She figured out you can vote once a day, it says in the rules. So thanks for that, Jean.
Yeah, awesome. So what we'll do today, I think, just continue on, customer question and answer. I think it's been pretty good. The questions have been, I think, excellent, great. People, talk about certain scenarios or experiences that they've had with options, some things that seem, odd or complicated. We had yesterday a great question and kind of walked us through like a strategy scenario. So maybe we'll do like some follow-ups on that. I think it's been good. So let's stick with that. At the end of the day, yesterday, we also had 2 people raising their hands, willing to come on the show live and ask their questions. So today, there's another chance to do that. Of course, if you have questions you want to put in the chat, Will's monitoring that. So as he's monitoring that, he's going to try to read them off to me. But I think it's better to come on live. You don't have to put on your video, but we'll be able to hear you and ask the questions. Sometimes you could just walk us through the scenario or the situation. That actually makes a big difference, because when you ask a question, there could be so many variables involved, and it just helps to get that clarity. This way, it's more focused to the questions. So while we're waiting for that, the questions to queue up, I'll just start going over what's going on in pre-market report. And I also have some backup questions that I kind of just write down in case, it takes a while to get some of those questions queued up, because we are on a delay. All right, Will. So, and Will, you're going to put out the link onto YouTube chat. So if you want to come and ask the question live, if you click on that link, it takes you to Zoom. Once you're in there, you could click on a button to raise your hand. This lets us know that you want to come on. We'll turn it on, and then and if you unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear you. Right. So
I did put that in the chat actually at the start of the show. This is something, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to use going forward. Even when you're going over a feature or something, we will allow people to come in and ask questions. I put it at the top of the chat every day. So right. I did just put it in again, because we have a lot of people chatting back and forth. So if you just joined, the link was just popped in again. And yeah, just click on that link, come over to the Zoom, raise your hand, or let me know on the YouTube chat that you want to chat, and we'll get you on.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what we'll do is, we'll stay on course with this for a little bit. As we're releasing new features, maybe what I'll do is start kind of going back. Some days I'll just focus on the new features, talk about some of the new reports, new features, and then, leave some room for questions as well. So we'll alternate that way. Okay, so let's start right now with the pre-market report. And again, these are stocks that are trading in the pre-market hours. We have the most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. I'm just going to scroll down here to see how many stocks made our percentage gainers list. So I see there's 57 57 stocks on our percentage gainers list, 71 stocks on the percentage decliners list. Kind of a mixed bag, but a little bit more tilted towards a bearish bias at the open. Let's use one of our filters to look at the higher market cap stocks to see if we see a different scenario or the same scenario there. So I'm going to use this market cap filter, and we'll do market cap of 20 billion or higher. So here we see 6 made our percentage gainers list, 15 on the percentage decliners list. The lists are small. There's not a great deal amount of stocks here. So I'd say it's still kind of a mixed bag, but a little bit more favored towards the bearish side at the open. But again, these lists 6 and 15 are not very, very big. So probably we're going to be close to unchanged somewhere, a little bit more bearish. Let me unfilter this. I'm just going to take a look real quick if anything is kind of standing out. And I see some stocks here gapping up. It's not higher market cap stocks, but I'd rather just kind of leave it open to questions. This one looks like it's on the merger IEC. So let me know, Will, if you have any questions coming in.
Nothing's popped up yet.
Okay. So let me just come up to, let me see. I'm going to take a look at my notes. And again, we had 2 people yesterday, raising their hands at the end of the day. So
yeah, unfortunately, Stephanie's not in the chat today. Okay. So for some reason, I think she may be overseas. Speaking of overseas, I did talk to Jake this morning. He is still in some tough shape. I hope he gets better. Yeah. So again, positive thoughts out there for Jake, aka the doctor. Still not feeling well.
Okay. So what I think I'll do is, because we're in a pre-market report, and I'm just kind of like looking at some previous questions. I'll talk about like closing and opening rotations. Okay. So when we look at, let me just go here to stocks. I'm going to go to big money stock flow. I'm going to look at stock block trade screen. So these are block trades, and these are really happening. We have some that could be happening in the pre-market, some that after hours, and then we have block trades that are happening throughout the day. But another thing to look at, and this is going to be part of a new feature that's coming up, so I'm just going to kind of just introduce it to you guys now, and then when the feature comes out, we'll focus in on it. But there's a closing and opening rotation. So let me look at a opening rotation. So today we haven't had any yet, right? Because we're still in the pre-market. So I'm going to go back one day, August 11th. So these are opening rotations for yesterday, right? And what happens is in a pre-market, you could trade as long as your broker allows you to trade in the pre-market, and usually, you could do it electronically or whatever, but it's a little bit less liquid. But certain institutions can't trade in the pre-market. Like a mutual fund really, they can't. Certain people cannot trade in the pre-market, and maybe you're not even allowed. So what will happen is that orders are going to get queued up for the opening price, right? So you could have a bunch of buy orders, you're going to have maybe sell orders. Sometimes there's going to be an imbalance, and the specialist or whatever the listing exchange is, tries to get a fair price at the open to cross all the volume, right? So if you have a bunch of buyers, maybe the price can get driven up until it finds sellers. Maybe the specialist will also participate on one side, selling some out of his inventory or buying some in inventory, but you're going to have a opening cross, an opening price, volume, and then it starts trading, right? Then after that initial trade happens, then you're going to see a bid and offer start appearing where you could then buy and sell. right? And then the trading kind of starts after that. So you can put a price right at the opening. Right now, if your price is below the opening price, you're trying to buy, and it happens to be below the opening price, you're not going to buy it because the price was higher. If you're trying to sell it and your price is below the opening price, then you're not going to sell it because it opened lower, right? But sometimes if you enter in a price and you could say, let's say you're trying to sell it at a certain price, but the opening price was higher, you'll get that opening price, right? Because you didn't put it in a pre-market, you're at the opening rotation. So let's say you wanted to sell stock at 100 and you put it, you put the price, I want to sell it at the open at 100. If the opening price is 101, you'll get that 101, right? So you participated at that opening price. Vice versa, you could have a bid there, and let's say your bid is 100. If the opening price is $99, then you're going to get that price $99 because you're already above that opening rotation. So your broker will send it to that venue that it opens on. And this is another thing that people tend to look at. Well, what's going on at the opening? What is the volume? How many shares traded, the total notional value, and what did it do, from the previous day. So opening, closing, something similar as well. Let's just stick to the opening. And sometimes people ask, like, well, why did this, Uno Capital, why, if the market's open at 9:30, why am I seeing an opening price 10:45, a.m. Eastern, which is an hour after? Well, that's possible as well, that just because this market says you could start trading at 9:30, sometimes especially in the liquid stock, it might not start trading till much later, until first of all, there's a trade has to happen, right? So there has to be some volume where it matches up. Or if you have a big imbalance, the specialist might hold it until he finds the other side. So maybe $3.8 million worth of stock in this Pono Capital could have been very unusual, and the specialist is saying, well, I don't have that much shares in inventory, or I can't find another side, and they're holding it until they could find it somewhere, right? Maybe start calling around, whatever, and try to cross it, or they start giving an indication on the New York Stock Exchange that there's an opening imbalance, a buy imbalance, and they're looking for a seller. So there could have been just like an indicator there. And if somebody has stock that they're willing to sell, then they could cross it. So it doesn't have to open at 9:30. Usually the stocks will open at 9:30, especially very busy stocks, especially.
Hey, D, I'm sorry about that. I forgot to hit the start the webinar button. So people were trying to get into Zoom to ask the questions. My apologies. So we're going to have some live questions. That's why you just heard that.
Oh, I got you. All right. So again,
so whenever you're ready to go, we have questions, D.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. We're going to start with Stephanie. And Stephanie, thanks for being patient. She had a bunch of questions at the IBKR webinar she held on yesterday. Yep. So Stephanie, we are going to let you in now. Here we go.
Hey, Stephanie, I think you're still on mute, your mic.
Oh, wow. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can.
Hi, Stephanie.
Thanks for joining, Stephanie.
It's a miracle. Nice to meet you guys. All right. So here's my burning question.
Yep.
It's just trying to go a little faster. And I mostly trade Tasty, and they don't have it. And I can upload a screen grab. I don't know where, but am I able to go in? So the screens you guys show are like across many names, right? And that's useful in its own way, right? Okay, but let's say I want to trade whatever, Palantir or Johnson & Johnson, whatever.
Okay.
Am I able to go into, I go to the options screen, the option chains for Johnson & Johnson.
Okay.
And then per, best practices, right?
Okay.
Screen within Johnson & Johnson for volume greater than 0 and open interest greater than 0 or 5 or whatever, so that I'm only seeing where there's volume as a starting point.
Okay, so do you see my screen now? So I am
do.
on Johnson & Johnson, right?
Okay, I
So
do.
here's on Johnson & Johnson, and right here I'm on the options chain. So the way it's organized is on the left-hand side, you have all the different expirations, right?
Yeah.
And for each expiration, it'll list the volume. So you know how much volume is trading at each expiration. So at least this way, there are options trading there. And you could go pick a particular expiration that you want, or you could just go to the one with the highest volume, like August 20th. Once I click on that August 20th, now it shows me the options chain for that expiration. And on the left-hand side, I see the volume for each option. This is the call side. So 1,195 options traded on the 177.5 call, right? And on the put side, same thing, 482 options traded on the 170.
Okay, and I see that, but I can't filter within that date, the August 21st series. I can't filter, Fidelity lets you do it like just throughout all the dates. I can't just view or filter down to those series that have, say, volume greater than 5, open interest greater than 5, for example.
So 5 contracts, you mean?
Or 0 contracts, but in other words, my starting point when I craft a trade is, if I have an approximate idea what I want to do, I'm toggling between different programs that have different features. And I'm in MarketChameleon for a lot of stuff. And then I toggle, I don't trade in Fidelity, but they have this feature where I toggle over there, and my my starting point filter is volume greater than 0, open interest greater than 0. And I can see all the chains, but filtered. And it helps me go a lot faster. The other visual they have is they have a volume histogram in the option chain. So, it just helps me go so much faster.
I don't see what you're seeing, so I'm not sure, but what are you trying to do? Maybe if you tell me like what you're trying to achieve.
I'm trying to go fast. So I see these screens, and visually, even though the black is hard for me, lighter would be easier, but I see where I can just visually take a look at what chains have volume. But day after day, trade after trade, if the baseline filter, if I'm only seeing chains that have volume and open interest greater than 0 or 5, it helps me go a lot faster.
Well, do you need both open interest and volume greater than 5?
I don't even know what is available, but at Fidelity, those are 2 foundational filters that they have right at the top of the page. And you can remove weeklies and some other little tweaks, but like, imagine if trade after trade, you're trying to figure out what series, you're trying to craft it all together, but trying to go a little faster. Whatever you're looking at is going to have volume and open interest greater than 0. It'd be handy. It's handy.
I'm not sure, but so when the volume's greater than 0 and open interest is greater than 0, what does that tell you? Like,
it means I'm not trading against the market maker.
I'm not sure if that actually tells you that. So a market maker, right? It's not the trade. It's the bid and the offer, right?
Wait, Dimitri, let me go fast. I'm sorry to interject. A couple things. First of all, I'm just wondering, do you guys have the feature?
The way you described it, no.
Okay, so there's no way to filter the option chains themselves to a more customizable, whatever your customizable thing is.
Not like when you say volume greater than 5 and open interest greater than 5, we don't have a filter that specifically do that.
Is there any filter for the option chains?
There are reports, but on the options chains itself, you could use, like, for example, most active options, things up here. You have reports like key trades, interest, volume. So there are reports that you could come down and just like filter, by strike, by expiration. But, you're talking about a very customizable filter. Like just to give you an example, Stephanie, like the request you have, I get so many different requests for different people have different ideas, right? Some people might just say, I need a filter just for puts that are, 10% out of the money and this far.
Yeah,
so there's so many, not everybody thinks the same. And if we created a filter for every request, we probably have like 1 million filters already. So we try to get things close. I think what you're saying is I think that the options chain here will get you what you want, because the volumes are right there. You could see them. All you're trying to do is maybe filter out these that don't have any volume, but it's very easy to see where the volume is, right? Because they're right here in blue, the numbers are there. And if you wanted to highlight the most active, you could just highlight like this, right? And it'll just highlight which is most active.
I hear you. It's just a question of speed.
So Stephanie, just so I understand, you want to get the options chain to eliminate everything that's there that doesn't have any trades taking place. Is that correct? Or any open interest?
Correct.
So on the Fidelity platform, the options chain just eliminates every strike that there's no activity, basically, is what you're asking.
If you so choose. I'll send you guys a screen grab to support, but it's just basically, it's like you can just quickly 3 or 4 little things. You can add or remove, include or remove weeklies. You can pick the time series. It has some very quick visual markers for where you land on earnings and dividends, which is really helpful. And then in terms of filters, they give you the filter of, volume or open interest is, greater than whatever, if that's what you want to do. Right. So that very, very quickly, I'm not on some boondoggle crafting some poor trade, some lousy money losing trade.
You see, I don't know how, it's always interesting to see how other platforms do it. And I know a couple people mentioned that they have Fidelity accounts, but like you just mentioned earnings, we do show, if they're earnings that appear within a, they're
right. So really quickly, there's the indicator, like a dividend coming up August 23rd. So it's coming up. There's a company event, which I don't know if anybody else does it, but that's important. The earnings right here, it's just estimated right now because I think they probably just had one. So that's how quickly. But again, you might be just used to using a certain platform and you're used to seeing something a certain way. So here it would be looking at it a different way. Maybe that's the issue, but
it's just speed. It's just speed. I have to use, I never can get away from Fidelity because it keeps me going faster. I've asked Tasty if they can do this filter, but they don't have it yet.
Okay. Maybe if I saw like the actual workflow, it would give me like a different idea because I'm just not sure, because if you're just trying to look for strikes, that are busy, maybe, then you could just use like a screener.
Well, that's what this is. That's what this is. It's a screener within the option chains.
But just within the individual options chain.
Well, in addition, it's in the option chain.
Right. Let me just take a look at one thing real quick. If you go
Stephanie,
here to
best thing to do, Dimitri talks about the workflow. If you took screenshots and then a little description, what Dimitri said is absolutely true. He looks, people send him stuff all the time and he's constantly looking to try to, and we've built early on, we were building stuff specifically and then stuff never, so he will look at it. So if you send us, it would be worthwhile for you to send the workflow through just to see what you're kind of asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll send it along.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it would have to just from our experience, for building for a couple years, sometimes, people ask an SNS for a certain feature, then we will put it on, but then you'll have other people say there's too many features, take them off. I don't need this, I don't need that. So as many people that we have requesting features, there are other people saying, remove these. I don't need all these. There's too much stuff on there.
Got it.
It's a balance for sure.
It's a balance, because we can't customize exactly to each individual. It'd be impossible because we've got lots of people using, the website, but we try to get people as close as we can. So sometimes if I see the workflow, I could try to get you as close as you can, or maybe I could tweak something here and there. That makes it easier for me, because when somebody shows me their workflow and what they're looking for at the end, like this is what I'm looking at the end result, that helps me, because I'm like, okay, well, here's how you get there, because a lot of people will show me their in-between step, right? And like you have an in-between step, and then at the end, you're like, well, this is what I was looking for, and once I see this is your end, your end result, then it helps me, because I could then show you, okay, here's how you do it.
Actually,
Well,
Ronald, who's listening, Stephanie, he says the open interest analysis could maybe help you find what you're looking for. So, I mean, that's the other thing. We have so many reports that maybe if you show the workflow.
Just to give you an example, Stephanie, when you're saying I'm screening for everything that's over 5 contracts and over 5 open interest, I'll tell you this: if I did that screen right now, what you just described, I'll have over 1 million results. Right. So obviously you're not looking at 1 million results. You're doing things to narrow things down. Right. So there, if you look at open interest, there's way more,
Yeah, but Dimitri, I'm talking about within the context of one name, and within the narrow constraints of trying to put a trade on.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you're still, I'm just showing you in the options chain alone. Just like even in Johnson & Johnson, you could see all these different expirations have volumes, right? And all of these, I'm going to open up the open interest for you, so you got open interest here, all these would get filtered out down the line. So there's something else you're doing, because you're not going to get filtered out 2 choices. My point is, even in Johnson & Johnson, in one stock, just looking at an eyeballing it here, you're in the, 20, 30, 40 different options will get filtered out.
I hear you. It's just it's a question of speed. And speaking of speed, I have a burning request, and I know people would find this handy. It would be pretty great, especially for your screens where you're screening over many names. If on the hover over of the symbol, just the name popped up, because I don't know every symbol, even though I'm pretty good. And so with this feature, I have to toggle over to FinViz, like a lot of times intraday, just to figure out what's going on. It's not that their listings are better per se. It's that when I hover over a symbol, the name pops up. Actually, I have the name in a little chart, but I can go, when I say like dramatically, appreciably faster, it's because if I don't know the company, I can just boom, quick. And with the hover over, I just see the name and go.
Right. So the way we have it is next to a symbol. If you click on this informational sheet, it'll bring up the name and other information. So you got
no, but Dimitri, it's slow. It's all these. If you did a user interface thing 2 or 3 clicks later each time, think about it, over hundreds of or thousands of iterations, that clicking 2-3 steps, click, open, close, this, that, versus just to hover over, I can just see the name.
Mm-hmm.
So it
what
sounds
happens
like
is
you're.
it takes me from your website, which I otherwise love.
Oh, thank you. I mean,
So Stephanie, it just seems like you're a super active trader. I mean, the way I'm hearing it, I mean, you've explored probably just about every site on the market. And these are things that make your life easier when you're looking at, I don't know, how many names do you look at a day? It sounds like hundreds.
Well, no, I mean, my day job, I'm a stockbroker, but this is for my personal trading. I'm enslaved to toggling back and forth, toggling here and there and everywhere. And I have to toggle over to FinViz to quickly get the names of stuff that's moving, because they have this hover over feature. And when I'm crafting a trade, my baseline is always Fidelity because of the things I described. And so it's toggle, toggle, toggle.
right.
Gotcha.
So I think what Stephanie's saying is if you're, instead of opening it up like this informational sheet, to read about it, what she's doing is just hovering over it, and is when you hover over these, something just pops up, tells you the name and stuff.
Yeah, go to FinViz. You'll see what I mean. Like, I don't know what BEKE is. So I just hover over it, see the name, boom.
Okay. And, we'll take a look at it. We'll see, what we could do. We get a lot of feature requests. These aren't like,
I know.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. When you're on FinViz, you hover over it. It has a quick chart, and it says it has like the name. The acronym is already there, but it has whatever the name is. It has a brief description of the company, like rentals and leasing services, and a quick chart, basically it's candlestick chart. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some suggestions that would help me stay on Market Chameleon more often or longer.
We appreciate any suggestions. It's a development time versus, everything's a cost, right? We are definitely a bootstrapped operation. Yeah. So
and just to give you an idea, these informational sheets, the reason they're slower because we had much more requests. I think if you just pop in a name and a quick chart, because a chart, you could just take a still picture, right? The problem is when people ask us, well, what is the average volume versus the, today's volume? What is the PE ratio? What is the 52-week high? So when you start getting more requests, you can't pop all this in very quickly to load. So that's the reason, it's a balance. Somebody wants to know, well, when is the next earnings coming up? What I need to read about this stock. I don't want to leave. So it's a balance, between, well, I could pop up really quickly a name in a still picture, or if you need dynamic information, that's where the informational sheet comes in, where we're getting it's going to our database, right? So it's retrieving, hey, did we pick up a new earnings date today? Did we pick up unusual volume today? Did we pick up, what are these averages? What is the market cap? What's the PE ratio? Dividend.
Yeah.
So once you start adding more data and information, that hover over would not be, because then what will happen is as soon as you touch it, right, the hover over, it's going to slow down everything for you, because then it's waiting to retrieve that information, right? So the hover over, that's why when you have a still picture, very quickly, you just, you freeze it in the background. It's different than you're going to the database and retrieving all that information.
Right.
Well, listen, Stephanie and Dee, we're about 3 minutes into the opening. Stephanie, I'm sure your phone's ringing with customers.
No, they don't call.
But we really appreciate it, Stephanie. All great requests and a great question. Again, thanks for coming on, and we appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys. Listen, I'm a fan. This is just some constructive input from a big fan. I live in the website. I just get so busy.
Oh, no, we really appreciate it. We appreciate the feedback always. And we do, Chanteau, I know you had a question, you typed it in. If you want to come over and ask that live, she was asking about her options portfolio and trying to figure out a beta weight to the SPY. So that's something maybe you can look at tomorrow, Dee. Stephanie, thanks so much. Great job.
Thank
Dima,
you.
as always, a pleasure. Everyone have a safe trading day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Stephanie. Have a great day. Stay safe out there, everyone, and hope to see you guys tomorrow.
Trade in peace.